Morning, guys, and welcome to this week's Coffee and Conversation. I'm your host, Coach Dennis from manoflegacy.org, and with me again is Dr. Charlie. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Good. We were talking about divorce, and is divorce the death of the relationship and life as you know it, or is it the rebirth of life?
It's all in how you approach it. It's all in how you approach it, and I look at it as it's a rebirth. It's an opportunity to lick your wounds, of course, make an honest assessment of yourself, and then become a better version of you.
We call it version 2.0 in the relationship. So sometimes we initially come into contact with most of the men in the coaching practice when they're trying to avoid divorce. And we have to have a pretty brutal conversation. The marriage as you know it is dead. It's DOA. You're not happy. She's not happy. She's made it clear, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, or I want a divorce. And it's what spurs the men on the journey to improve, evolve, and grow. And sometimes they reattract their wives. And we've all seen and know somebody whose life has gone completely down the toilet because of divorce. Because nobody has reached out, I think, to help them or talk with them. But you're right, it's an opportunity to create an amazing life, work on the things you need to work on and improve on. And you talked about it, accept responsibility for where you failed. And we all fail. And grow from there. What do you see as the biggest mistakes men make when they're in this position of post-divorce or going through a divorce?
Playing the blame game and blaming
that
everyone.
Bitch who's responsible for everything.
And blaming everyone but themselves. And I always think of this John Wooden quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. He said, adversity is when a man becomes most acquainted with himself. Being especially free of admirers then. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you get to stare into the abyss and decide, do I want to go down there or do I want to rise like a phoenix?
Oh, I like that. I've seen a lot of his quotes. I've not seen that one. I'm a big John Wooden fan. He was a hell of a man.
Yeah.
What is interesting too, I've had hundreds and hundreds of coaching sessions, and I have seen that at the end of the day, about 95% of the women are good women. They're struggling, they're hurting. They weren't taught how to be a good woman. We haven't been taught how to be a great man. And how are we supposed to... And then when you throw in all the dysfunction from the previous generation that's been passed on to us, how the hell are you supposed to know what to do even? We don't teach this stuff.
Exactly.
And that's kind of one of the things we do with the men is we start teaching them some of the fundamentals, and first thing we teach them is to stop making big mistakes. Stop shooting yourself in the foot. Then, grow your value as a man, and then to build and extend those bids for connection and see where it goes from there.
I think another big one is to stop the fight. It's over now, right? And so I see so much wasted energy with people. They're not divorced anymore, but they're continuing to fight. And hey, if your spouse feels like it's all your fault, okay, take that responsibility. Okay, yep. And then here's what I'm doing about it, and here's how I'm getting better. Move on. If you take responsibility, there's nowhere to go with it at that point. I made mistakes. Let's move forward and get better. And your children, your friends, your family will see, right? Because they're all watching.
Yeah,
they'll see, and the proof is in the pudding.
And assuming your ex is in the majority. Excuse me. One of the things we teach is to hold women in high regard.
Absolutely.
Because women can feel the energy you bring, and when you hold them in high regard, you can do that with an ex. Doesn't mean, but your children, like you said, are going to see how do you treat her, how do you react. I'm embarrassed to say I did not do that in my first divorce. There was some arguing and screaming, and I look back and it's one of a handful of points in my life I wish I could go back and undo. Now I look back on it in embarrassment. I had let anger get the best of me at that point in time. So I was probably truthfully in the victim mode of the victim triangle, and I divorced here 3 years ago. It was completely different, and I was in a great place. I actually felt a lot of empathy for her because of the struggle she was going through, and again, I handled it completely differently. And it's arguing doesn't really accomplish anything but cause a lot of pain, misery. And again, it's not always easy because sometimes the other side is wanting to push the argument, always poke you and have that. But yeah, I think that's a great point. There's nothing to be had from arguing. Let's accept our responsibility and move on.
Yep, absolutely. Move on in a positive direction, and continue to strive to get better each and every day. Yep. And if you do that, those days will add up, and the difference in your demeanor, how you're received by other people, will be completely different, right? And I mean in a positive sense. So there's a lot of positives that can come out of it, but you have to work to pull them out.
Yeah, good point. All right, guys. Well, thanks for your attention this week. Hit the subscribe button if you would. If you are struggling in a relationship or a marriage, you'd like to reach out and talk, go to manoflegacy.org and hit the contact form, and we will talk. There's no fee. I always talk to guys a couple of times to help them out, and we'll go from there. Thanks.